It's time for piano. All right. Hi everybody, nice to see you. Thank you for joining me today, Saturday, for piano lessons. This is actually lesson 13 in the entire series, okay? The third lesson in the summer series, but the 13th lesson overall. So I'm really happy you could join me today. Couple housekeeping items, if you don't mind sharing this video, letting everybody know it's time for piano. The second thing is if you haven't subscribed on YouTube, I encourage you to do so. That way you can re-watch your lessons or work on some tricky spots with me, okay? Just search Izzy Chia and you'll find me. There's also the link to subscribe in the description of this video. So if you need to go ahead and just hit the button, you can do that. The third thing is please join our private Facebook group. That link is also in the description of this video. It's called Encore Music Makers, and I would love to have you. And lastly, I am accepting donations, since I'm a donation-based studio, on Patreon. And Patreon is a platform for creatives and teachers like myself to earn a more steady income. So if you feel like making monthly donations to me to help support these lessons I've been providing for free, go ahead and do so. I have tiers as low as $5 a month and all the way up to $50 a month, just depending on what works for your budget, okay? All right, well, without further ado, let's get started, okay? All right, go ahead and pull out your book. Yay! And we're gonna review our song from last week. We were working on the Cuckoo, okay? And let's see, what page were we on? Oh yes, okay. So we were on page 59, okay? Page 59. Go ahead and open your books to 59 and we are going to play through the Cuckoo. All right. Okie dokie. Well, I have my music set up. Now, if you remember, this song, the Cuckoo, is in the G position, right? So my right hand thumb is going to be on G above middle C, and my left hand pinky is going to be on G below middle C, okay? I'm going to switch to piano view, that way we can play through it, okay? Let's do it. All right, wonderful. So let's find our spot. Okay, I've got my right hand thumb on G above middle C, like I said, and my left hand pinky on that G below middle C, okay? Remember, this one is in 3/4 times, so we have 3 beats a measure. And don't forget that the top line is repeated, okay? So you're gonna play the top line twice before we move on. All right, are we ready? Oh, let's do it. Okay, I'm gonna count off, and then we'll get started. 1, 2, 3, ready, and play. Repeat. So how did you do? Did you get through your song okay? I know that second line is tricky, right? Because it's got like tied notes in your left hand playing a not so comfortable chord, right? You have to sort of slide your hand up in order to play it comfortably. And it's got those melodic intervals like thirds and things like that that can be kind of tricky to remember. But either way, I'm glad that you played it with me. I'm glad that you gave it your hardest. So good for you. You have passed this song, okay? All right, now, before we like officially move on, I had also given you an exercise, right? So if you turned the page to page 60, the bottom part of page 60 had that exercise or warm-up, right, called block chords and broken chords. And I had assigned it as a way to sort of set up the song that we're going to be learning today. So I would like to go ahead and play through this exercise as well. Okay, let me show you what it looks like on page 60. And I put some brackets around it so you could easily see it. You see it? There it is, okay? Now, this is going to be in that exact same G position, right? We're exercising those G major chords and those D7 chords, right? So this is sort of going to be an exploration of how to play them harmonically and also melodically, okay? So let's get into position and we will play through this little exercise at the bottom of 60. All right, I have my right hand thumb on G above middle C, and I have my left hand pinky on G below middle C, okay? Now, I'm going to start with that treble clef line, that treble staff, and I'm going to play each line twice, okay? I want you to do the same. I'm going to count off. 1, 2, 3, ready, and play. Hand bass clef. 2, 3, G, 2, 3. Repeat. And let's end with the block chord G, both hands. 2, 3, hold, 2, 3. That was beautiful, yeah. Now, I like playing those types of chords because it really gives me a feeling of playing something more complicated at the piano, which I'm sure you're feeling that as well, okay? Now, that is an excellent setup for the next song, okay? There's a couple things to talk about it, though, first, okay? We have a pink box at the top of 61, and it is referring to a pedal, okay, right? It's called the damper pedal. Now, because this is virtual lessons, and many of you do not have acoustic pianos or digital pianos with a pedal, some of you may feel a little bit left out from this teeny portion of the lesson. But don't fret. I'm still going to teach you how it's used and how to do it. So when you do find it time to sit at an acoustic piano or a digital piano with a pedal, you'll know what to do with it, okay? So don't worry. All right, so let me show you the picture, okay? This pink box here has a picture with 3 pedals on it, okay? Yes. Now, the pedal we're learning about today is called the damper pedal, okay? And it says the right pedal, okay, the one that's furthest to the right side, is called the damper pedal. When you hold that pedal down, it keeps all of the tones that you've played on the keyboard held down too. It sort of muddies the water a little bit, right? Or if you think about it in art terms or art imagery, it's like using watercolor. Okay, it's not like each color of the painting is separated, like in acrylic paints, how you can do that. It's sort of like adding water to watercolor. It blends it all together, okay? That's the beauty of the damper pedal, okay? Now there's a sign below it. Let me show you that sign. Kind of looks like a line, but you can see it right here. You see that? It says pedal down, hold pedal, and then pedal up, okay? When you see that sign written in your music, the little line going down is you effectively pressing your foot down, your right foot down, on the damper pedal, and the long line across means you keep it held down, okay? When you see the little line go up again, that's when you lift your foot off the pedal, okay? Now keep this in mind. As you're playing, if you happen to play a wrong note in the phrase, it's still going to keep that wrong note held down too. So that's something to think about, right? It's a lot of times it's really good to practice songs with pedal without the pedal to start. That way you can learn the notes without having to worry about the pedal holding all those wrong notes too. But if you do find that you make a small mistake while holding the pedal, just lift up your foot just a hair and it'll clear out that sound, okay? And you can press it back down again, okay? All right, so let me show you what that sounds like, okay? We had just left G position, right? So I'm gonna put my hands on G position. And what I'm gonna do is the way to put your foot at the pedal is you're going to keep your heel, your right foot heel down on the floor. And it's not gonna move, okay? Effectively, you're gonna be going like this, right? If this was your heel on the floor, the front part of your foot is gonna press it down. You don't wanna like step your whole foot on the pedal because then your knee is gonna hit the bottom of your keyboard and that will hurt, trust me. You don't wanna do that, okay? So I'm gonna put my right heel into the ground and the top part, the ball of my right foot, on that pedal, okay? I'm gonna play a phrase, which is just a pentatonic G major scale, right? And I want you to listen carefully, okay? This is what it sounds like when I press the pedal down and hold it, okay? Turn on those ears, listen carefully. Do you hear how it's holding it? It holds down each and every tone, okay? And it will keep holding it until I lift my foot again. Now let's listen to that same pentatonic scale without the pedal so you can hear the difference. Nothing's held down, right? That's the main difference with the damper pedal, okay? Now, how we're gonna apply this to our song here. If you have a pedal, I just want you to notate where that pedal is being pressed for harp song, okay? If you do not have a pedal, we're gonna focus on notes, okay? Wonderful. Now looking here at harp song, let's look at a couple things. I see we're in 3/4 time, okay? So again, that's 3 beats a measure, right? I also see we're gonna be starting in G position with the left hand pinky 5 on G. And we're gonna be traveling up in broken chords, up both of the hands, right? Our dynamic sign is really interesting too. We've got mezzo forte to start through the whole song, and then we've got a repeat sign at the end. So if you have a pencil, go ahead and circle that repeat. Okay? How does that sound? Does that sound pretty good? On the second time through, it's gonna be piano. Okay? So let's see if we can play through harp song at this point with no pedal so we can at least focus on our notes to start. Okay? Let's do it. All right, so I'm going to switch to piano view. I'm going to get into my position here, and remember this is without pedal. I have my left hand pinky on G, and I have my right hand thumb on G above middle C, okay? I'm going to play it mezzo forte, and I will be saying the finger numbers to start. I'm going to play the whole song. All right, let's count off. 1, 2, 3, ready, and play. 5, 3, to G major. 3, 1, 1, 3, 1, 1, 3, 5. Last line, F sharp. 5, 2, 1, 1, 4, 5. Back to G major. 3, 1, and 1, 2, 3. Now, there is a repeat sign, but I'm not going to repeat it because it'll make it just too long. I want to make sure that that was something that we were able to follow through with, okay? Even if you had wrong notes, I want you to recognize those patterns, okay? We have the G major chord on the first line being played with the left hand and then the right hand. Then the left hand again and then the right hand. And then it switches. Line 2, we have the D7 chord. If you practice your block and broken chords, then you know that's an F sharp, C, D. And that is done in the left hand, then the right hand, the left, and then the right again. It's a lot of bouncing back and forth, right? And then on line 3, it returns back to that G major chord, right? G, B, D. Left hand, right hand, left hand, right hand. Now it gets complicated on the last line, okay? The last line, it only gives you 2 measures of the D7 chord, and then it switches back to the G major chord, okay? So just make yourself aware of that, where those changes happen. Again, if you've got your pencil, it really helps to be able to write G with a circle, so I'll put a G with a circle on that first line, then a D7 with a circle on that second line. Back to G on the third line, and then D7 for the first 2 measures of the last line, and then the G, okay? Anytime you've got your pencil available, if you feel like circling something or drawing something is going to be helpful, feel free to use it, okay? Now, I would like to play through Harp Song once more, but with pedal, okay? For those of us that have a pedal on your piano or keyboard, this is what it's going to sound like, okay? Remember, if you have a wrong note, it's going to keep it held down too. So just gently lift up that right foot again to clear it and then put it right back down, okay? But don't let the pedal prevent you from really getting those notes under your fingers. The notes are way more important than the pedal. That's why I say it's okay if you don't really have a pedal on your piano, because eventually, since now you know how to use it, if you get the opportunity to play with a pedal, you'll know what to do, right? But the most important thing is the meat, right? The song, the notes, okay? So let's go through it. Oops, goodness gracious, that's wrong. Here we go. Got a little intermission in there. Okay, so I'm going to be in G position. I'm going to have my right foot heel down on the floor, and then my right foot, ball of my foot, here on the pedal, okay? I've got my left hand pinky on G below middle C, and I've got my right hand thumb on G above middle C. All right, I'm going to count off, and we will play through this harp song slowly. 1, 2, 3, ready, and play. Down again, D7 chord, still down, lift that foot and put it back down, G major chord, D7 chord, put it down, G major chord, and then it's done on a G. 2, 3. Now essentially I would be repeating the song, but I'm actually not going to repeat it today. Hey, you guys have done such a great job on this song, okay? Remember what I said. If you practice those block and broken chords, it's going to make harp song way easier, okay? All right, I'm super, super proud of everybody. So let's go ahead and turn the page here. We are going to turn to page 64, okay? Page 64. All right, I've got a new page for you here. We're going to introduce E for the left hand. That's a new note, okay? Now, as we're going through this, we are going to be in G position, right? Remember, this is talking about the left hand. So if you have your G position in your left hand, the only thing that's changing is that your finger 1 that typically sits on the D, you're going to stretch it up to an E, okay? So it's just slightly moving it over, okay? Let me show you what that looks like in piano view. So here's my regular G position, and then we've got that left hand thumb switching just a hair over there to the right onto this E, okay? You see that notated at the top of 64. Now there's a practice line right there, right below that piano map. And I'm going to play through that line there, okay? This is going to be a new chord, okay? It's going to sound kind of interesting. So follow those finger numbers exactly, okay? I'm going to count off. 1, 2, 3, ready, and play. G major chord. Now a new chord. G, C, move your thumb to E. G, up to C, up to E, repeat. G, B, D, G, C, up to E, G, B, D, G, C, up to E. There you go, there's that practice line, okay? Now, that practice line is actually really, really nice because it's setting you up with the keys to learn the new chord here, okay? It's a C major chord, and you're like, but I already know a C major chord, right? But the cool thing about this C major chord is that it's a different position of the C major chord, right? So let's think back a little bit. The C major chord that we know has a C on the bottom, right? It's consisting of C, E, G. But since we're in G position now, we have that pinky on G. If we use the same notes that consist of that G major chord, or C major chord, we already have the G. Let's add a C and an E. There it is, right? It's a special chord because it's something called an inversion, right? It's the same notes. It's just that it has a different one on the bottom. This one specifically is called a second inversion, okay? Just a little tidbit right there, okay? So keep that in mind. If you play your G major chord, which is GBD, slide your finger 2 on C and that thumb up to E. There you go. There's the C major chord in this new position, okay? It's going to be a really good idea to practice that specific section pretty well here, okay? Now, I want you to look up here at the top of page 65, okay? Oh, hey, Grace. I just see your comment. I've got catching up to do, but oh, good. Okay, yeah, I'm glad to have you. I'm sure there's a few more of you there. If you're there, you can comment. That way I can say hi. So at the top of 65, there is a warm-up using G, D7, and C chords, okay? That specific line at the top there is going to be the additional warm-up that we're going to do for this week's practice. This week we're only working on harp song and this warm-up line, okay? Again, as we progress through these adults and teens lessons, the music is a little bit more difficult and it might take a little bit more time. So I don't like to overload anybody with too much music. So let's take a look at this top of 65 warm-up line. I'll show you what it looks like. This one. Yeah, right there at the top there, okay? Hi, 80. All right, so at the top there of 65, we're going to put the left hand in G position, okay? I'm going to switch to piano view so you can see me. Here we go. So G position, I have my left hand pinky finger 5 on G below middle C, okay? We're going to start that top line, that warm-up line. It has a repeat sign, okay? And we are going to play it twice, okay? Starting there at the beginning. Listen carefully if you want. Oh, okay, so your name is Daniela. Nice to see you, Daniela. Okay, so here we are. I'm going to start with that first chord, okay? I'm going to count off, and as best as you can, see if you can listen carefully and play along, okay? 1, 2, 3, ready, and play. 1, 2, 3, now a broken. C chord. 2, 3, now break it. Now there's your D7. 2, 3, broken. G broken. 1, 2, repeat. Block chord, very good. Break it. C chord, 2, 3, G, D7, 2, 3, broken G, and 1, 2, 3. Wow, okay, yes. Now you know why I'm only giving you this warm-up line, right? In addition to harp song, because this is actually quite an involved warm-up. And it's going to be very, very important for us to get those chords right under our fingers for the left hand, okay? When you feel confident about having those chords under your fingers by next week, Beautiful Brown Eyes will be the song that we learn for next week. And it's actually very, very good to, like I said, have those chords under your fingers, okay? How are you feeling? Pretty good? All right, let's see if we can play that warm-up line once more together, okay? I'll slow it down just a hair. That way we can see if we can keep up with it, okay? All right. All right, back to piano view, everybody. Okay, so we are here at the warm-up line at the top of 65. I am in G position, okay? If you're in G position, give me a thumbs up, okay? All right, I'm going to count off now, okay? 1, 2, 3, ready, and play. 1, 2, 3, broken. C chord. 2, 3, break it. D7, 2, 3, F sharp. G broken. 1, 2, repeat. Block chord. C chord. D7. That was fantastic. Yeah. Okay. Like I said, keep that little warm-up as your mini song for the week. And if you do it with the repeat, it's like as if it's a song that's 2 lines long anyway. It's just going to be really good for your fingers, right? It's making them stronger. It's making those neural connections in your brain by finding all those cool chords. And it'll just make it easier as we proceed into our song for next week, okay? So for this week, quick review. Harp song, okay? Page 61. And page 65, the warm-up line at the very top, okay? So if you need to put a star or circle it, go ahead and do that, okay? Now, if we look at our theory. Let's turn the page to 66. Okay. Page 66 is going to be all about using E for the left hand, okay? And you're going to write in some note names for me, okay? Also, 67, okay? On 67, this is all about that C chord for the left hand when you're in G position, okay? It has some really helpful reminders in there, and you can name those chords in the boxes, okay? This is really good theory, okay? So if you've been skipping your theory, like I know some of you have, it's always a good idea to try and do your written work as well as your piano practice, because it all, sort of builds on each other, right? If you don't get time at the piano, you can at least open your book and read through and build your chords that way with your pencil, okay? So there you go with your theory, okay? Now, like I mentioned earlier, I am on Patreon. I know a couple of you on here are already patrons, so thank you for that. So I am accepting, help and support on Patreon. Like I said earlier, it's a platform for creative people like myself to make a more regular income. Since I'm a donation-based studio, I rely only on the generosity of my viewers. So if you are feeling like you'd like to pay me for my labor, I have different tiers that you can join, whichever works for your budget, okay? I've got tiers as low as $5 a month, all the way up to $50 a month. But again, this is not required, but it's really helpful for me, okay? Thanks for letting me say that. Of course, the last thing we always do for every single piano lesson is a music quote, right? So today's music quote is like super, super popular, right? It comes from the German philosopher and poet Friedrich Nietzsche, and this is what he says: "Without music, life would be a mistake." I agree with him. I mean, it's not just because I'm a music teacher, but it's because music, I know, brings people so much peace and so much freedom of expression in ways that dialogue and written word and, speaking cannot, right? It's music is just a way to communicate even more effectively our feelings, right? And that's like one of the beautiful things about being human, is that we can make music, right? So I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks again for joining me for piano today. Catch me on YouTube, catch me in the private group. I'll see you Monday for practice with me if you need some extra help. And until then, y'all have a great weekend. Take care.